Doesn't matter. I laugh and do
But I'm
shit all
used
the time.
to.
I'm recording now, so all right, here we go. And welcome to the podcast. He is a bird. I am your host, Sean Shelton. I have every guest I have is a very, very, very special guest, but this one is the most special because we share DNA. It is my oldest brother, Patrick Shelton. Patrick is a captain in the U.S. Army, and he is here because he had the idea of a new segment that we have called Captain to Captain, and I am the captain or one of the captains of my football team. Patrick is one of the captains in the U.S. Army, and we're going to talk about our experiences within football and how that have kind of I'm going to have to cut this part. How these experiences have evolved and what is the word I'm looking for?
How you
Trans,
how,
trans how they've how they've
how, the transferability from football to personal and professional life. Bro, you want me to run your podcast for you or what?
it's great to have you on. How these experiences within football have been transferred is transferred
Transfer. That's an English
has been
word.
used in our professional lives, mine still being within football, Pat's being outside of football, and the commonalities between the two. Because first of all, welcome, Patrick.
Thanks for having me.
I put a sound drop of people clapping in there. But what's funny is the YouTube. I just do the raw video footage onto YouTube, if that's okay with you, and I won't edit any of this, so that'll be interesting for people to watch. But now I have a lot of audio editing to do, which is awesome. So how do I get back on track here? So today's topic, or what we're going to talk about, is consistency. And basically, we're going to talk about how one learns consistency through football and how it's almost a must. Like football players, to be any good at their craft, have to be consistent. And then we're going to talk about why that's important and how to apply that in life afterwards. So, Patrick, in your experience, by the way, Patrick was a standout high school football player. He was an All-American at at the NAIA college level. And so in your experience, in your football experience, how does a football player gain or learn the characteristic of consistency?
So, first off, I was all conference NAI. I was not all American,
Come
but that's
on. Why
okay.
would you even correct? Why would you even
It's
correct?
okay.
He was half a sack. Was it half a sack or one sack short of leading the NAIA in sacks his senior year?
I don't know. I'm looking at it's half a sack. I'm looking at the news article right now that I put on
So
my
he got
wall.
snubbed. He got
Yeah.
snubbed, folks.
Yeah. So as you bring up the topic and I sit here and I think about it, I think about back early in high school where high schools, we didn't play at the greatest high school program, and there wasn't really a structured workout program during the summer, and oftentimes I'd find that it would be me and my friend Paul that would always be in the gym. We'd always come in every day at 3:00, day after day, week after week for the entire summer, right? Nobody else was really there. I mean, you had a few players, but as I sit around and I think about where it all started, that's where it started. And I could never understand why nobody was ever there. But what I learned early was just the habit of going to the weight room every day at the same time was that's where I think the structure started to build. And then, that progresses from, one day to 2 days to a week to multiple weeks to months. And then it's a habit. It's a way of life. But I think it starts early. And I think that, or at least it started early for me. And I think it just has progressed since then.
And when you started becoming habitual in your weightlifting and in your craft, there had to be days where you're like, fuck, I don't feel like doing this. And
I mean,
I don't feel good. And
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of days. I mean, even now, like I don't want to get up and I don't want to work out. I didn't plenty of days when I was in college and high school. I was like, I don't feel like going to the gym today. And as opposed to taking a day off, like, hey, I need to take a day off today. Like this morning I woke up and I was like, I've been busting pretty hard the past 3 days. I'm going to sleep in today and I'm going to take the morning off and I'll work out later. But those days are different. But I mean, even when you don't feel like working out, get up, do something. Do something. That's what I learned. Hey, I may not feel very good today, but I'm going to go and I'm going to do it anyways. But that start talking about the mindset and
Yeah, my experience with consistency actually happened later. In high school, I didn't work very hard at all.
I know.
Yeah, I got by on raw talent, and I was good enough. And then in college, I was not good enough. Raw talent wasn't good enough to carry my team like I kind of did in high school. And for me, it was just more like, hey, if we're going to be any good, I have to work my ass off. And it was like my sophomore year of college because I had just thrown 13 interceptions in 5 games. They're just fucking wheeling and dealing. And then we finished up pretty strong and I got better. And it's like, okay, in between sophomore and junior year, it's like, if we're going to be any good at football this year, not only do I have to work my ass off, but hopefully I can persuade others to do so as well. And it was a shame that I got hurt that year because I got so good. I threw every day. I lifted or ran every day. And I was playing really, really top level football at that time. And it was like,
was that when you broke your hand?
No, I mean, I broke my hand in high school and college, but this one was one of my really bad ankle injuries.
Oh.
And I was hurt all the time in college, which was unfortunate. But and it was like, I think I was 20, 21, and it was like, holy crap. Like, and then the people around me started working hard and they started playing better and we were doing really well. And it was just kind of, not only did I see consistently working on my craft, not only did I see exponential growth in my craft, it also taught me, like, during the monotonous and the repetitive times in season, it's like, hey, I've done this before. Like, yeah, I didn't feel like practicing. Like we had 6:00 Thursday morning practices every single week, game week.
Yeah.
And it was like, fuck, I don't feel like getting up.
You get used to the grind.
Yeah. But you just get used to it. You're just like, I've done this before. This is easy money. Just, it becomes, like you said earlier, just habitual. It just habitual. So is there any, what?
No, I was thinking of a story, and I know Dad's going to listen to this, and so
shout out Dad.
Yeah. So do you remember when he had like the Shelton speed training?
Yes. God, yes. For people, for everybody who doesn't know, my father in high school, you were in high school, we were in middle school, Ryan and I, he developed a speed training program that he had us do like once or twice a week. And he bought books and sleds and equipment. And when I tell you that I couldn't have desired something less, I hated it. I hated it. I don't know how you felt, but I hated it.
I remember one of the first times that he took us out to do it. I remember I don't know if he did this intentionally. I don't think he did, but it's a funny story when he did do it intentionally, is where he gave us like cinnamon rolls and bacon and like, eggs. And then he made it for us. And then he took us out to the old Dunedin Junior Falcons high school practice field. And he put us through the workout. And then we all started throwing up cinnamon rolls, bacon, and eggs. And that was like the first experience that I remember. But the story that came to me specifically was, and I'm going somewhere with this, I promise, when we were on spring break in Kansas City. I may have been a freshman in high school. Okay. Maybe a sophomore in high school.
That means 13 or 14.
Yeah. We were in Kansas City seeing Granny and Pappy, and he took us down to that practice field. And he's like, we're going to do it. Like, we're going to keep going.
Yeah.
He brought all the equipment with us.
Park University or Park Hill, right?
Yeah. He brought all the equipment with us. And the only thing we wanted to do is we wanted slushies from
Yeah, but he
the
would bribe us. He's like, hey, if you guys come run, I'll get you some slushies.
but so he thought we were dogging it, and we were absolutely dogging it. We were just trying to get through it because we were on spring break. We wanted to spend time with our grandparents,
Yeah.
and we were dogging it. And I remember he's like, I'm done with this shit. And he threw his clipboard down and threw a fit and stormed off. He was like, pick up all the cones. And do you remember that?
Yeah, sure. I remember.
He probably
I
doesn't
remember.
remember it
Well,
conveniently.
but I mean, a lot of my, and this is a little bit off topic, but a lot of my adolescence was dad trying to push me in the right direction to be a better athlete. And I just didn't want it at the time. It
No.
wasn't that important. I didn't need it. I was good. I was good enough. I was
Yeah.
better than everybody else without doing it. And I often wonder if I would have just fucking listened, and if I would have had that work ethic. Like I talked about it a couple episodes ago. I watch Lisa every day, and it's the hardest working woman I've ever met. And it's like, I think of myself like, man, if I was intrinsically motivated enough to have that kind of work ethic at 14, I might be in a different place. But what motivates me is helping other people and being the best quarterback that I can, so everybody else is better
Yeah.
and the offense is better. And I didn't need to do that till college, and that's unfortunate that we did play a better program and better competition and better expectations. But I
Well,
often think about that. If I would have just listened to dad, I would have probably been in a different place.
well, you and me growing up too, when I started to form some of those habits early on in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But also at that same time, I kept up with dad's speed training stuff. Like I remember you
Mm-hmm.
guys being at baseball games, and I would go out and while your baseball games were going on, I do the speed workouts.
Mm-hmm.
He'd tell me what I needed to do, and I'd go out and do it. And that kind of continued because I wasn't near as naturally athletic as you were. And I had to work a lot harder, like on my speed, my endurance,
Right.
my strength, power. We're playing different positions, but I had to work a lot harder, and I wasn't as naturally as gifted, and so, but I think through all that, I think you just have to learn every day. Like you prepare yourself every day. It's just one day at a time, and eventually it just becomes your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes a habit.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I gotta get after it today in the gym. Like that's
And
that's
how
part
is
of your
that?
thing.
How is that? How have those experiences directly translated into your post football life? I mean,
Yeah. So
I imagine being in the military. It's almost the best preparation you could have had.
yeah, think about it from this context. Think about it from the context of being a parent, right? Every day your kid's going to wake up. Every day your kid's going to need to be loved. He's going to be played with. He needs to be fed. He needs to be changed, like whatever it may be, right? You and Lisa are about to experience this,
Right.
like those.
Patrick's the father of a very beautiful 2-year-old
He is not being very
boy.
beautiful this
Yeah,
morning.
2-year-old boy. So, anyways,
But having habits in your life, whether it be working out, whether it be reading, whether it be studying, whether it be anything that you're doing consistently, having a routine has directly transferred to making the transition to being a parent
okay.
that much easier.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it doesn't have to be working out. It doesn't have to be, but like those habits formed early in the weight room, early, doing the speed training, you know, like I said before, from each day to each week to months to years, you now have a consistent routine, and you have things within your life that will help you develop consistency and a routine. And that's what I think has helped me as a father. And now, go ahead.
That's interesting. I didn't even think about it from a personal standpoint, and preparing you to be a father, and in football you do things that you don't want to do consistently, right? That's called a season, right? All you do is
Yeah.
want to play games, but you have to show up and you have to do these
Yeah.
things in order to perform at the level that you would desire on game day. So you innately learn how to deal with doing things that you don't want to do, or things that are
Mm-hmm.
maybe not so glamorous, like practicing. I never thought about that translating to being a father, which I imagine is a lot of doing stuff that you wouldn't necessarily ideally want to do on a day-to-day basis, like being woken up in the middle of the night, like being changing
Yeah.
diapers, like, so that's interesting. I never thought of that, but now professionally, how has that helped you?
Yeah. So I think so. I'm gonna read a quote from this book. Um, are
What
there
book
like
is
any
it?
cop? Is there? Can I say what book it is and like the author and stuff?
Sure. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'll get a lawyer later.
Yeah. So this book, it's called Discipline Equals Freedom: The Field Manual. The guy's name is
I think it's better when you do shout it out if than just ripping it and not giving them
yeah.
credit. So
Yeah.
okay,
The guy's
so
name is the guy's name's Jocko Willink, and he writes a bunch of different books. Writes a book called Extreme Ownership that I really like. But the guy was a former Navy SEAL, and I was, I think people, in football it's really easy, right? Like, what's the goal of the football? What's the goal of football? What do you want to do?
win football games.
You want to win, right?
Yeah.
You want to win. You want to win a championship. Okay.
Hmm.
What's the why for the military? Like for someone that's in the military, what's the why?
Why? Why are they doing what they do?
Yeah.
To serve and serve the countries, fulfill their
Yeah,
oath.
but what I'm getting at is like, what's the ultimate goal? Like, you
Yeah,
still want to win, right?
sure.
You want to go to war and you want to win, right? So this is a quote
You
from
don't want to go to war.
yeah yeah
Let's bump the brakes there.
yeah. But
But
you
I know what you're saying. Yeah, yeah,
but when you do, you want to win, right? So
sure.
this is a quote from his book, and it says, "Why?" Over and over again, I ask myself why. What drives me? When I was younger, I was preparing for war. I knew that someone out there, another man, was also preparing. That man was my enemy. He was working, training, planning, and preparing to meet me on the battlefield. I didn't know when, I didn't know where, but I knew that at some point we would meet. And I wanted to be ready mentally, ready physically, ready emotionally. And so this is the part that I think speaks to me about consistency. So I trained and I prepared and I did everything that I could to be ready for that day. And then when I became a leader, I took the same approach to prepare my men in the same way, to train brutally and without mercy, so we could fight brutally and win without mercy. And the day came, we met on the battlefield and we won. And so it talks about consistency. So I trained and I prepared and I did everything that I could to be ready for that day. And then this speaks to your point. When I became a leader, I took the same approach.
Mhm.
You got in there and you were getting after it as the captain of the football team, the quarterback, to inspire others
You
to
have to.
develop
You
that.
don't have a choice.
Yeah, to develop that as well. And I
Yeah.
get goosebumps. I get goosebumps reading that quote. And I think it doesn't matter if it's the Army. It doesn't matter if it's you're a salesman or you work for a tech firm or whatever it may be. The habits that you form early and the habits that I learned from football have helped me to be a better leader, because now I can go into work. I go into work every day, 6 o'clock. I work out from 6:30 to 8 every single day. I work hard consistently every day. I do things in a routine. I do things in a manner in which that kind of like you said, it inspires or at least I think it inspires others around me
I think
to want to
it's
work harder
yeah,
by just
exactly.
being there consistently, by
Yeah.
being there.
Yeah.
Um, just being up, showing up. Now I'm not saying every day I show up and every day like I'm an all-star.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have bad games, but you show up, and I think that, I
No,
could go, I could go.
I think dependability is one of the most important things, and that ties in with consistency. And like, to tie it to my professional career, it's always been a goal to me, and I hope every single one of my teammates believes this, that every single game I'm going to be on that shit. You know what I mean? Like every
Mhm.
single game I'm going to play to the best of my abilities. And it's not always the highest competition every single game that we play, but no matter what, in practice and in games, that I take that as seriously as humanly possible. And even in practice, even the smallest mistakes will piss me off. And I expect this offense, the Swagger Raiders offense, to be so consistent and so efficient and play at such a high level at any given time, no matter who we're playing, no matter what practice it is, that it's just it's been trained into me via what I've been playing football for 20 plus years now. So I think that's where it's coming. And I hope all my teammates know that and see that it's like any game day that they're going to get the best performance out of me that I possibly can give. And I think lastly, what we'll end on is, especially in America, a lot of people compare football to war, and it's obviously not. It's not
No,
even
it's not.
close. But it's passages like you just read where there are why people do it, right?
Hmm.
There are um, similarities and parallels between the two in terms of preparation, in terms of consistency. And I think if anybody takes that approach and sits there and goes, hey, if we want to win a championship, if this is our ultimate goal, there's in Austria, there's 7 other teams in Europe and the CFL, there's whatever. I think there's 12 teams in this competition. Like, hey, on any given day, there's 20 teams out there preparing to beat us.
Hmm.
And if we don't view it in the same way, it's going to be really hard to sustain success. And the only way to sustain success is to consistently do what you do at a high level. So
Yep.
that was our first edition of Captain to Captain. I think we will do it every once in a while. I hope you guys like it. Give me feedback. And we'll probably have Pat back on in a few weeks and talk about something else that you learned through football. At times there can be negativity around football, and rightfully so. But there's also a lot of positive things to talk about, and I think Pat and I will do that on a semi-regular basis. Patrick, thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was good to see your baby blue eyes.
Goodbye.
All right, see ya.